you don't have to conserve love because God's supply is endless. Breadth, height, length, the whole thing. It's endless and it's overwhelming. So you don't have to conserve that.
Yeah. And emotionally, this explains the retreat.
Yeah.
The big fear is that depletion. You know, that they're not going to have enough. And really under pressure, they tend to withdraw.
Hey friends, welcome back to the podcast. We are here doing another Enneagram edition. So, honey, what would you say to someone who, okay, this is their first episode of ever listening to our podcast, Imperfectly Married, the podcast. This is the first one.
Okay.
What should they know about what they're getting into right now?
So we believe in the power of using the Enneagram as a tool in marriage. We don't think that it defines you and it has to be like super cookie cutter. But what we do believe is that this is a good tool to have in your tool belt just to help build communication, to just know kind of like your stumbling blocks and like the areas that you may struggle as it relates to the topic, which I would say is our previous episode's topic. So I would say that if you're jumping in on this episode, just bounce back one or keep on listening, but there just may be a few references that we make note of that, you know, you may not fully understand or grasp.
Yeah.
Google can be your friend in that case.
Absolutely.
But definitely go back to the previous episode, because how we structure our podcast is we do a topic on marriage. And then the next episode is usually an Enneagram episode based on each 9 type on the last episode.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly right. So if you're here, Enneagram is just a personality typing system. That's all it is. And we believe in it so much that we make it part of this podcast because we believe it will only improve your marriage because you get to know each other. And that's the biggest thing. So stay tuned with us or go back and then come back to us. So, and speaking of our last episode, in our last episode, we talked about emotional intimacy and knowing one another, turning toward one another. I love that term, turning toward one another. It's almost like I'm saying yes to you, opening up myself, to you. And also building trust over time. And so today's episode, we're kind of slowing that down and we're asking a different question. And it's, why is emotional intimacy easier for some of us and then absolutely terrifying for others?
Yeah. I mean, that word terrifying really does matter.
Yeah. It's terrifying for me. Like it's 100% it's been terrifying for me sometimes.
And then this is where the Enneagram helps, because it's not just to like diagnose your marriage, but to explain your real, true, deep wiring, your God-given wiring. Because emotional intimacy isn't just about skills.
Right.
It's about fear, safety, needs, and your stories.
And that distinction is, I believe, very important. This episode isn't about putting yourself or your spouse in a box. It's about awareness, because when awareness happens, that leads to compassion. And then when compassion happens, that creates this space for growth.
Yeah, and as we talk through this, we're also going to be layering in some of John Gottman's talk about the 7 principles for making marriage work.
Great
we
book.
talked about this in our last episode, and it's just such a great resource.
Yeah.
So we're going to be talking about things like love maps, turning towards each other, trust, commitment, because emotional intimacy grows when you feel seen, when you feel safe, and when you feel secured. So again, go back to the last episode and really like tune in, because we're going to do a deep dive on love maps. So when you hear us reference that, we're talking about knowing your partner so intimately that it's like a map. And so that's their love map.
Yeah.
So, but if you want a deeper dive on that, make sure to go back to last episode.
No, absolutely. So, and underneath all of this, underneath everything that we've just said, there's a very, very important thread. We believe one of the most important threads, and it's faith. And we don't want to miss that, because Scripture reminds us that we love because He, Christ, first loved us. Emotional intimacy isn't something we manufacture. It's something we practice as we learn to receive love first. So that's the scope of what we're talking about. That's the landscape, right? And so I jump in, right?
Yeah,
I say jump in.
let's do it.
All right, type 1, the reformer. You are the reformer. So if you're a type 1 deeply wants right relationships. And when we say that, like, we literally really mean it. They want it right. Ones often believe that emotional intimacy is built through responsibility, improvement, and doing things well. And so from Gottman's perspective, ones are usually strong in commitment, and they take marriage very, very seriously. But here's where it can get tricky. And this is often where tension really starts to sneak in, is fondness and admiration, especially when resentment starts to build. In marriage, this often shows up as a love through consistency, structure, and correction. At first, that can feel stabilizing and even reassuring, but over time, it can unintentionally communicate disappointment instead of desire. And then you look at the spiritual side, and this really matters, because Scripture says there is no condemnation for those that are in Christ. So you don't have to fix yourself before you're loved.
And emotionally, this really helps explain a lot. Ones can struggle because feelings feel messy or inefficient. And vulnerability can feel like losing that moral ground.
Absolutely.
And that inner critic, it's loud, and it doesn't just critique them, it keeps them really guarded.
Very much so.
So the invitation for the type 1 is this. Emotional intimacy grows when you allow imperfection to be seen.
Wow.
Practice naming appreciation before naming the correction.
That's a big deal.
Yeah, that's huge.
Yeah. Type 1s, come on.
All right. So type 2, the helper. So the type 2s, like, they really pursue emotional closeness by attuning to others.
Yep.
They feel most connected when they're needed. And for many 2s, that's where intimacy really feels the safest. So Gottman would say that 2s are great at turning toward their spouse, but they often struggle with love maps of themselves because they don't necessarily always know the deep meanings of themselves.
Right.
So they know their spouse really well, but they don't always let themselves be known. So in marriage, 2s feel close when they're appreciated and deeply connected. When they when they feel like deeply disconnected, when they feel unseen.
Yeah, absolutely.
And this matters spiritually too. Even Jesus invited others to love him. You are loved. You're not just useful.
For a 2, that is one of the most one of the biggest things that they can walk away with, is that you are loved. That's it. You're loved. You're just not. You're not just useful. That's such a big deal for a 2. And here's where the tension shows up. The struggle is confusing giving with intimacy. Needs, they get hidden. And then resentment, right? Resentment builds when care isn't reciprocated. They're not talking, right? They have this expectation, but not talking, right? Not letting their needs be known. And so the growth edge here is learning that emotional intimacy requires receiving, not just giving, right? And so practice 2s, practice asking directly for what you need. Wow, that's going to be a challenge for them. My goodness. But that is where growth is really going to happen, because you start to practice that in a safe place. That's all about making the environment safe with your partner to where you can then put that out there. As uncomfortable as that's going to be for a two, wow, starting to do that can really create an environment for growth. Absolutely. So, right, type 3, the achiever. So type 3s often bond through shared goals and success. And that's not wrong. It's just not the whole picture, because feelings can feel secondary to productivity, right? And so they're strong at sharing meaning, building a life together, but emotional attunement can be hard when life becomes performance driven. Now, in marriage, love is shown through provision and effort, but vulnerability, letting your spouse see weakness, not for a 3, can feel very risky. And this is where faith actually reframes everything. 3s, your worth was settled at the cross, not the scoreboard.
Yeah, that's so good. And emotionally, there's often more happening underneath.
Yeah.
Right? The struggle is performing instead of revealing. So avoiding emotions can feel like they're tied to failure, and slowing down emotionally can feel unsafe. So the invitation is really this, that emotional intimacy grows when you are loved without the performance.
Oh, geez.
So again, practice naming feelings, not outcomes.
Wow.
Yeah, it's so good, because sometimes it's like we just want to focus on the outcome instead of actually naming what's going on.
Because they're wanting to achieve. A 3 wants to achieve that goal,
it's just
and
a
so
goal.
Yeah, it's just a goal, and so we're saying,
or the performance of, or the act, or the face that we put on.
okay,
Yeah. So the type 4, they're the individualist. So type 4s crave emotional depth.
Yeah.
And really a deep sense of authenticity.
Absolutely.
They don't want surface level connections. They really just want real.
Straight up.
They're often really strong in their love maps. They know their inner world really well, but fondness and admiration can suffer when comparison creeps in. So in marriage, the 4s desire deep connection, but they may withdraw if they don't feel like that they're being emotionally met. And underneath all of this is a steady truth. God sees you fully, and he still stays.
Wow. I mean, I know that, but that's it's a powerful statement.
Yeah.
You know, that, because what it's saying is you're fully seen and I'm here for it. That's great.
He's not leaving you.
Yeah, no, he's not. Now, that particular longing, I mean, it makes total and complete sense. Feeling misunderstood is absolutely common. Emotional intensity can overwhelm a partner, and there's often a pull toward what feels missing. So the encouragement here for the 4 is that intimacy doesn't require emotional intensity all the time. Stability and depth, both of those things can coexist for a 4, and that's important for them to walk away with.
Yeah.
So your 5s, though, here we go. A 5's the investigator, up in the head. Type 5s approach intimacy very slowly, thoughtfully, very cautiously. Connection works best when they feel safe and unpressured, kind of like at their own speed. They're strong at understanding, but turning toward their spouse emotionally, well, that can feel very draining. So that's the difference between the heart and the head, right? I get it, but I'm having difficulty feeling that and getting there. So now how that turns up in marriage is closeness often happens through shared ideas. Now, space is necessary, but also too much space is going to create distance. So that's not the good side of it all. And here's the reassurance underneath it all is you don't have to, listen, 5s, you don't have to conserve love because God's supply is endless. Breadth, height, length, the whole thing. It's endless and it's overwhelming. So you don't have to conserve that.
Yeah. And emotionally, this explains the retreat.
Yeah.
The big fear is that depletion, you know, that they're not going to have enough. And really under pressure, they tend to withdraw. So expressing needs doesn't come very naturally for them. So the growth step is letting others access your inner world. Practice small emotional disclosures. And I love that because it's like, you know, the emotional disclosure is like the small fine print at the bottom. And it's just like, it's the things that you don't always read and you just sign.
Yep.
But it's like those small things are what you're actually like. Here's just a little dose.
It's like a test strip, just
Yes.
a little bit of something there.
Exactly.
But that's what those are the tiny steps that get you to greater strength and health. Those are the tiny things that you can do to feel secure and strong emotionally. And that's where that's emotional intimacy. Those are steps to making that solid.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. So next up is the type 6, which is the loyalist. So type 6s bond through safety, through loyalty and consistency. So connection matters deeply to them. They're deeply committed, but trust can kind of get shaken when that anxiety starts taking over.
Definitely.
So in marriage, they're going to seek that reassurance, you know, often pulling close and then kind of pushing away. And this is where like faith speaks super clearly. The Lord is your refuge and you're never alone.
You're not alone. And so when anxiety leads, this is often what shows up: doubting motives, testing relationships, and fear-driven reactions can then block vulnerability. So emotional intimacy grows for a 6 through clarity and reassurance. Take this: name fears instead of acting them out. So you're communicating, you're saying, you're putting a name to the fear, but you're not necessarily having it control you. So you're not acting out the result of that fear. What you're doing is you're naming what it is, and that will help you as a 6 to kind of process that. So I always love jumping from the 6 to the 7 because the 7 just gets the party started, because the 7, which is my wife, the 7 is the enthusiast, and 7s are going to connect through joy, shared experiences, and optimism. And that energy is real. It's not fake. It's not drummed up. It's actually a gift. And they're great at turning toward their spouse. I know that from experience in positive moments, but struggle to sit with the pain. Right. And so in marriage, 7s, you're going to bring energy and fun, but staying present in grief or conflict is going to be hard for you. And spiritually, this matters. Hear this: God meets us in our sorrow, not just celebration.
Yeah, but he meets me in the celebration.
Yeah.
Hardcore.
No doubt.
And so emotionally, avoidance can kind of creep in really quietly, and avoiding those hard emotions and minimizing the pain and staying surface level can really limit that intimacy. Yeah. So the invitation for you is really staying instead of escaping. Joy grows roots when the pain is really honored.
Wow.
Yeah, super good.
What?
So type 8s, we're moving on to the challenger. So type 8s connect through honesty, strength, and loyalty. They value realness over polish. They often build trust through like protection.
Yep.
But soft vulnerability is harder for them. And so in marriage, love is shown through protection, but fears and hurt often stay hidden. And here's the faith truth underneath it all: God is strong and gentle with you.
Oh, come on, Lord.
At both at the same time.
Yeah, love that.
Simultaneously,
On
which
the,
means you can too.
Yeah. Ooh, hey, nice connection there. Love that. Come on. On the emotional side of things, this is where the walls go up. Fear of being controlled or betrayed keeps your guards in place. Intensity, you know this, intensity can overwhelm a spouse. So emotional intimacy for you 8 grows when strength includes softness, right? Vulnerability builds trust. It doesn't weaken it. That is a across the board truth.
Yeah.
So nines, we're off to the 9. Type 9, the peacemaker. Nines, you seek closeness through harmony and shared presence. You value connection, but often at the cost of yourself. So you as a 9, you're really great at turning towards your spouse, which is a wonderful gift, but your self-expression is at risk of getting lost. And so in marriage, 9s are very easy to be with, but sometimes hard to fully know. And this matters deeply. 9, listen. Your presence matters to God and to your marriage. Remember that. Your presence, not just, I'm just going to fit in. But your whole presence matters, and it's important.
And emotionally, the cost of staying quiet continually adds up.
Yeah.
So avoiding conflict, losing self, and emotionally numbing really blocks that intimacy.
Yeah.
So emotional intimacy requires your voice, and conflict can actually deepen your connection.
Is it the 9 that has like rage, because they
have suppressed rage because they feel like their feelings never matter, and so they keep stuffing.
Yeah, and then they could not going to, but it's a risk of theirs that they could, when they explode, it's an explosion. So it's really important to be mindful, and that's why I love the Enneagram, because we're telling you, if you're a 9, if you so resonate with a 9, then be aware that as good as it is that you kind of let things go, or something's building. And if you really, I think all types, if you really sit and sit back and really think about it, you could, like a 9, you could probably find like, oh, that's right, there is a tank that's kind of I stuff things into when they're really wanting to get to know themselves. And so I think that's the absolute brilliance of the Enneagram. And that's why we want to take you, our audience, through an important topic, but then it gets customized to you, the listener, to this is how my type take it. So that's why we constantly do these, because we think it's that important, because every topic in marriage, relational, all of the things are so very important. And so if you can get that customized to how I'm going to receive it, I think that's gold.
Yeah,
Yep.
absolutely.
Yep.
Every type really longs for intimacy, but we all kind of protect ourselves differently.
Yep.
And emotional intimacy mirrors God's invitation, which is just to be loved and to be known.
Absolutely. And that's really the heart of this episode. The goal is never, and you'll never hear this from us, the goal is never to become another type. This is, again, it's a tool. It's to become more aware, which then you become more compassionate, and then you become more courageous because you know even more of who you are. Because remember, growth is a practice, not a personality fix.
Yeah.
And so that's the Enneagram, and that's the power. And so emotional intimacy, if you want to know more about emotional intimacy, really highly encourage you to go back to the episode just before this if you haven't listened to it yet. And honey, tell them about our really cool resource we have right now.
So if you're really wanting to do a deeper dive into the Enneagram and you're wanting to know more about it, or you're kind of still struggling with your type, a couple of things that we have is on our website, we actually came out with a marriage Enneagram typing quiz. It's 10 short questions, and you can get to find out your type or your spouse's type. And so that's a really great resource. But then if you're still kind of new to the Enneagram and you want to know more, we're having a mini course that's live on our website now for really inexpensive. It's $27. You get like a 30-page workbook, and you're going to get 3 episodes, not episodes, but you're going to get 3 courses that take you through an overview of the Enneagram, and then also how
they talk to each other.
Enneagram type relates to each other within marriage. And so we highly recommend those 2 great resources for you if you're wanting to grow deeper in your understanding of the Enneagram.
Yeah, and would love to hear from you. You can hit us up on all the socials, or you can email us. Just go to the website. You can find all that information. And we'd love to hear feedback. We'd love to hear how you're receiving and how receptive you are to these episodes and the value that they actually bring. And so if you have any questions, anything, you can always get a hold of us there. Thanks so much for tuning in. Pass this to somebody who you think that might benefit from learning about emotional intimacy, especially from the Enneagram, or not any of those episodes, because we just want to love people and help marriages thrive, right?
Yep.
That's it.
There is a definite war against marriage. And so we're here to just combat it little by little. So go and have a great week. And again, follow us, like us, and put all your questions in the comments.
That's right. Tune in next time.
Bye.